OK, Carol, you know, we like our little Tuesday evening sesh in the pub, don't we? Our little...
Sesh!
Well, a quick glass, a little meet-up.
It's a little glass.
But we'd be pushing the competition that we have from one group of friends we're reporting on this morning who get together...
I don't know.
No, I think this is real commitment. This is long-lasting friendship. A group of mates who've been meeting at the pub once a week for 56 years.
OK, they definitely win.
Yeah.
Here they are. They've been getting together all that time and they have a story of true, long-lasting friendship. As you can see, they've had all the haircuts and all the jumpers over the last five centuries, only said, 5 decades.
They started in 1968. They're now in their 80s. You reckon they've only missed a dozen or so meetups over the years, and they need a new recruit this morning. So our correspondent Joe Inwood has joined them in the pub. Good morning, Joe. How's it going?
Good morning, John. What better way to spend a morning? Yeah, I can see after about half an hour with these guys, can see why they've been getting on well for so long. Let me take you around, introduce everyone. We've got Dick, Ken, Paul, Brian, Bill and Peter. Now, these 4 have been here for 56 years. Well, not continuously here, but coming and meeting for 56 years. These Johnny-come-latelys, only 40 years or so. But you can see just this morning, having a chat with everyone, quite why they got on so well and why it's lasted so long. I'm going to start with Ken. Now, Ken was one of the founder members of the Thursday night group. Ken, tell me, how did this start?
Right. I think it was Paul and myself who was responsible for getting this thing going and also ruining the Thursday nights for all our wives. Right. What it was, we were at studying for a degree in metallurgy and we got Wednesday afternoons off and we used to go playing golf, and from that we used to go for a drink and then others joined us until eventually we settled on a Thursday night, and that was 56 years ago.
And Dick, you've been coming all of this time.
Yes.
How much has this group and this friendship meant to you?
Oh, a lot. I mean, because we meet every week. It's not as though there's a month goes by before we see each other. But we meet every week. And we know each other so well that we can talk about any subject under the sun.
And Paul, I bring you in. There's a lovely tradition that you and Peter have. That you've got a birthday card that you send back and forth to each other every week. Tell me about that.
Well, we started with sending each other different birthday cards and decided it was non-economic to do it. So we'd have one which we'd date like an internal envelope, and we wrote daft little poems in which sort of in later days became bigger poems, and he writes one. My birthday is a week before his, so I get the card on the 9th of November and he gets it a week later, so he has to keep it for a year, which is objected to for years and years.
Now, I was going to bring in Peter. You're often the unofficial spokesman of the group. Tell me, the subjects that you guys talk about, how have they changed over the years, and what do you talk about?
Well, I mean, I've said before that we talked about sex and soccer originally, and then...
I have to interrupt there, because I was married then, so that discussion was academic to me.
Then we went on to talk about pensions and prostate, but so we talk about... I mean, a lot of it's about health nowadays, but... Yeah, we can talk about absolutely anything. When we did the Zoom during...
I need to bring this in. Here is the agenda. We have... Bring this in. This is... During the COVID pandemic, obviously things were slightly different, but you guys, you continued your weekly meetups on Zoom, and we've got here the agenda, some of the things that were being discussed. Tell me about that period.
Well, it was great because what we were able to do is some of the lads who had moved away to Australia and Pennsylvania, etc., we brought them in for during the COVID time. So we used to have a meet-up every week, every Thursday, like we've always done. But it got a bit disjointed because everybody were wanting to talk over Zoom. So I wrote an agenda, and I used to have some subjects that I'd introduce each week, and then everybody could bring another subject in if they wanted. So, and there were all sorts of silly things.
Just going to bring in a few of these subjects here. With all the present troubles in the world, do you think our generation has been lucky? There's some really... It's actually quite serious and heartfelt issues here. And one of the things I was thinking is, you guys set a really interesting example for young men now in how to have deep friendships, deep male friendships. What lessons do you think people can draw on your experiences and the friendships that you guys... In fact, I tell you what, I'll bring in Bill for this one. The friendships that you guys have maintained over 56 years.
Well, Peter and myself went to school together. We left school, worked for the same company together, went to night school, and after night school, 3 nights a week, and the rest of the week, we went out, knocked about together, mainly in the Rotherham and Sheffield areas. But there were lots of places to visit for young people at that time. We didn't have phones, we didn't have even landline phones. So we just made arrangements and stuck to the arrangements that we made. And we had, I think, the best years that you could possibly have.
Absolutely. Rock and roll. We had rock and roll. That was... Yeah. So, I mean, we were out nearly 7 nights a week, every week, and it was just dancing and girls. So that's all our life consisted of.
Too many lessons from this.
Look what it's done to them.
Now, we were talking before, one of the traditions that you have is the writing of these poems, and you were telling me before you've got the poem that you've written for Paul's 80th.
Yeah, which is in a...
So there's a special world exclusive of Peter's poem for Paul.
It's a shame, this, because I'm rubbish at this, and I've got to write another one now because I'm going to read it out for him. So I've put, this is, I've known you, Paul, for 50-odd years, and you haven't changed a bit. Cycling, walking and running, in fact, you're very fit. Tall, bald and eccentric, you've reached the big A2. I'm lucky to have you as a friend, just thought you ought to know.
It is very lovely.
Thank you everyone.
Paul, I'm just going to bring you, I know you were supposed to get that for your birthday, but how much does it mean to you to have this friendship?
Oh, very, very much indeed. I mean, it's a fundamental part of our lives. I mean, here, they're all comics, this lot. They're all comics, and equally, they're all competitive. I can tell you a little story if you want about that.
I think we've not got time for that, actually.
No, it's all right.
But just to know, in terms of how much they mean, it's obviously a huge amount.
Oh, mammoth! I've said that, but the week goes on, and we all go away, and we have our lives in the week, and we know that Thursday is a time when we can just move away from that. We can come and discuss football or whatever. It's relaxing. It's separate, and it's totally engaging, and it's in no way is it sort of a problem to our wives. They know that we're going, and it just is a fitting. It fits into the calendar of the week.
And Brian, I'll just bring you in finally. How much does this all mean to you? This friendship?
It means a lot because I can sit here and listen to people talking. And I've learned a lot since I've joined this group. I joined through Peter with work. He worked at the council and I worked at electricity board. And we used to have customers come in, and he was the stand-in for the customers who said they'd come to a get-together and they didn't turn up. So I used to ring him and say, get your suit on, you're going to a dinner.
Well, I will say, guys, after 56 years of friendship and still going strong, I'm sure that's something we can all raise a glass to.
Can we introduce
Absolutely.
Our representative.
Have some friends. Mick Sorby, he's away on holiday this week. So,
you can't stop him.
Cheers, lads. They're going to have a good day, aren't they?
Cheers.
And
chaps.
do you know what? I bet they do still sometimes talk about dancing and girls.
Of course they do.
Totally.
We want the late night version, don't we?